Hello Taurus, and welcome to your monthly reading. So this is for the month of May for Taurus rising or sun signs. So sun or rising. So we're going to pull all of the cards first, and then we'll get into all of the meanings more deeply. So I will talk really briefly, way more briefly than I have recently, about a little bit of astrology. Just incorporating just a little bit of it into these videos. So I hope that's all right with you guys. I just feel like I want to give you guys a heads up, you know what I mean? So I love the first card out, and I am breaking out a deck that I have not for a while. Super excited about this. It's such a beautiful deck. You know, sometimes my decks are just like, hey, I need a break. And then they just take a long break sometimes, and then they decide they want to come out. So I just listen. That's how it works. I know that might sound strange to some people, but I have a relationship with these decks. We've worked together for a long time. So we're going to take a look at the beginning, middle, no, yep, and end of the month. And then we are going to take a look at what is coming up as a challenge for my Taurus peoples. Taurians, would that be it? I'm definitely feeling my speech. Whoa. Did you guys hear that? The thunder? So amazing. I love that. Love that a storm rolled in today and I wasn't even expecting it. I am definitely a storm girl. All right, so what? Oh, wait, I was feeling that. Spiritual advice. Here we go. I like it. All right. So let's get this all in frame for you guys, and then we will get into these individually. And yeah. Isn't this deck beautiful? I love it. All right, so let's really quickly just mention a couple of things. So first of all, there's just way too much happening towards the end of the month that would make this video too long. So I'm not going to talk about the end of the month stuff that's happening, but I do want to talk about how we're starting out May. So at the very beginning of May, May 1st, we have Pluto stationing retrograde, and it will be moving back into Capricorn. So it'll be moving back into Capricorn until about early 2024. So I know it does it a couple of times, and then it's like squarely in 2024. I think it's February something, I forget. Then we have it firmly in Aquarius all the way through, right? So all right, so first I wanted to mention that, and then we also have, now this is more of the bigger thing, the one that I feel like is really going to maybe be more personally felt because it has to do with the moon, and that is so personal to our emotions. We have a full moon lunar eclipse happening in Scorpio on May 5th. So a couple of things about this. It's bookending the lunar or the solar eclipse that we just had, right? And remember, I talked about in my previous video, it's like this ushering in and the ushering out of things, right? That's one of the things about eclipses. And so this is the bookend of that. And it is on the south node. It's a south node eclipse. So anytime we have a south node eclipse, it is releasing, it is letting go. So know that that might be a theme that you're experiencing or seeing around you, or that you're feeling yourself about things or people or projects in your life. Depending on where, like what house it's hitting in your chart, that will be more able to like tell you like where you can expect to see these things occurring. So, and also it's a full moon, right? So the full moon is where we have like heightened emotions, right? Emotions can be really full and be at their peak during this time. So we all know that about the full moon. On top of that, we have this moon in Scorpio. So this is a place where the moon doesn't feel comfortable. It's not its favorite place to be. It's a really, really hard place for the moon to be, very hard place for it to be. And, you know, Scorpio can have to do with that transformative quality and with letting go of things as well. So we just have a lot of themes building up, stacking up, that are talking about this release. So this could be a time where it might feel like emotionally, like an emotional letting go, like the ending of some kind of chapter. maybe the ending of a project, a completion of a project, or a job, or a connection with somebody, or with a certain identity, a way of being, like who you were, something like that, right? So depending again on the house where it's hitting, that can tell you where it's going to be. But this could also just be about you recognizing, like, I've learned my lessons from this person or from that connection or from whatever it is, and I feel complete and done with that, and I am letting that go, right? So just to know, you might see it around you, you might be feeling that internally yourself. So I wanted to just give you a heads up about that. So with that said, let's now get into the cards. So we are focusing this collective reading because obviously it's not going to hit for every Taurus out there. So the way that we do this in my readings for every month so far, this is what we're sticking with, is we take a look at what usually it's a house card that shows up, or it's a planetary or luminary, in this case, card that shows up to give us a sense of what themes or what area of life we can really relate this all back to. And what we have showing up for you here is the sun, right? And what I love about this is, well, one, for tropical astrology, at least, for some of you, this is your season, Taurus. And so your sun sign, if this is for your sun sign and not your rising sign, then this might feel really, really relatable for you. But not to say it wouldn't for your rising, but just as something to note, right? The sun has to do with our vitality. You see that it says the source, and you think about that, like the core of your energy, the internal core of your body, the central point of who you are as a person in this world, not only your identity, but like how you want, like what you strive towards in terms of like your journey on this life, like in terms of like what you want to embody. This has to do with like what feeds our vital force, what has us come alive, what nourishes and feeds our sun, or whatever we interact with that feels like it feeds our vitality and nourishes our vitality and makes us glow brighter and feel like that beaming presence in the world in the ways that we do. Anything that's like that is going to nourish every other area of your life, of course, but that's what the sun is about. So we're talking about your vitality here. That's what we're really pointing to. And for some of you, this could have to do with your journey. Yes, it could have to do with the journey that you're on. So we start out the beginning of the month with the 5 of Wands. We move into the 7 of Crystals. In this particular deck, it's crystals for, just so that you know, if you follow tarot, that would be swords. So 7 of Swords, and then we move into the King of Crystals, swords, and then we have for the challenge the 6 of Wands, and then we also have the spiritual advice being the 8 of Crystals, which would be swords. So interesting combination, right? You can already feel like that this is definitely an interesting time. Now let's just note really quickly as we're getting into the cards, the beginning third of the month, right? The middle part of the month, which is like the middle part of the month is when we have Mercury coming out of retrograde on the 14th. So after the 14th, it will still be going slowly. There's like a post-shadow retrograde period that happens that'll take us pretty much to the end of the month, essentially. So just know that even when it comes direct, things will start to pick up speed, but very slowly. And that's what we have at the end of the month. There's a whole lot of astrology happening towards the end of the month going into June, but we're not going to get into that here. So let's, but I probably will do videos about it. I'm doing more and more videos where I'm incorporating astrology, as you guys can see, for those of you who have been following me for a little bit. So we're looking at the 5 of Wands. All right, so 5 of Wands is this feeling of like there are conflicting desires, conflicting wants, conflicting needs and maybe even conflicting passions for what it is that you feel like you want to move forward with in your life. There may be things that you're, oh, that thunder is just so amazing, you guys. It lights me up. Talk about being lit up. So the 5 of Wands can be about like where you have a certain desire, passion, need, like drive to move forward with something that probably lights you up, and feeling some kind of friction or resistance that is coming from maybe close people in your life or the people surrounding that, whether that's, you know, coworkers for project at work, maybe that has to do with like your friends and relationships, so like romantically as well, so family, you know, whoever it is. But like there might be some kind of friction that you're coming up against where you're really wanting to move with this, you know, whatever desire this is, and feeling like people are wanting things that are different, and these are people that, you know, are important to you, that their desires, their wants feel meaningful to you in some way, that it creates this kind of friction. And so wanting to navigate that. Now, what I like about the Five of Wands is that this isn't really like the Five of Swords is a lot more sharp, and the Five of Wands to me feels more like sparring, you know. And so it feels like the direction in from this card is to find where the win-win is for everybody, that there are ways that I feel are negotiable to move through these kinds of areas, right? So that's what we see with the Five of Wands. This is the way that you're starting out the month, and perhaps this has to do with what is going to be really coming up around this full moon lunar eclipse that is occurring. You know, given everything that I described, that makes like a lot of sense that could be the case. So we come into the mid third of the month, and we have the Seven of Crystals, which is the Seven of Swords, right? And so I think that this is definitely pointing to feeling like, hey, there are things that are kind of hidden here. And I see this two ways. Either you are suppressing the things that you are wanting and desiring for the sake of others, and in fact lying to yourself, and feeling also probably, if you're acquiescing and giving up more than you really want to, and therefore lying to yourself and telling yourself it's fine, you might feel like, you know, like everyone else is getting to get away with what they want, but you're not getting what you want, kind of a thing. And then another way that I would look at this is that, you know, maybe the opinions of some of these people shouldn't be considered with such high regard or with so much weight. Not to say that you shouldn't respect other people's opinions or desires or wants, but just maybe they shouldn't have so much weight in how you make the decisions that you want to make in your life. Because maybe their intentions, whether conscious or not, are nefarious or are self-serving or are not really to your benefit and are not going to help you grow and move forward on your path. And so sometimes it's like we have to kind of just go, all right, well, I love and care about you, and also, you know, that's going to hinder my growth, and I need to put that as a priority, basically. So, and then we come into the last third of the month, right? This takes us through to the end of the month, and we have the King of Crystals. I really do think that this is about standing in your power, right? And doing it in a very intelligent way, in a very clear, intelligent, communicative way. I would say enact any philosophies that you feel would be helpful in being able to communicate with other people. You know, the King of Swords, which is the King of Crystals, is really this, I feel like, intelligent, wise philosopher of a king, right? And the kings have to do with responsibility. You know, it's stepping up into a leadership position and being responsible for the world that you're creating, not only for yourself, but for the people around you as well. And so as you're like going about creating your kingdom, right, this is what I feel is going to be up for you, is stepping into this role, stepping into a place of like more personal power and leadership when it comes to like everything that's kind of been building from what I can see like through this month, right? So then we take a look at your challenge card, and for the challenge we have showing up is the Six of Wands. I want to make sure to kind of like get that so you can kind of see it. I know that maybe there. So the Six of Wands, right? And in this kind of position, I feel a couple of things come through, right? Without this being a personal reading, of course, right? It's not a one-to-one reading, so it's hard to say for every single person. So I'm going to say what I'm feeling that's coming through. And part of what I'm feeling really coming through here in this particular card is, you know, this desire to be seen, but to like maybe an unhealthy degree, like wanting to be appreciated and wanting to be seen and acknowledged, but not sourcing that from inside yourself, right? Like the Six of Wands is this card of victory and of recognition and, you know, to be seen, to be acknowledged for the hard work that you put in, for what you've, you know, everything you've done, for getting to this point, for your victories, right? And so instead of seeking that outside of yourself or trying to get that through these circumstances that are coming up, you're needing to tap into your own inner vitality and feed that for yourself. Like give yourself that experience. So that's mainly what I'm seeing here. Also, one little note that I'll put in there just as a little side note for anyone who that resonates with, or who this next part will resonate with, is, there's celebrating prematurely. So let's like slow your roll and just know that with the astrology too, it's like things might start to like move towards the end of the month, but we are still in a retrograde and slowing things down. And like, let's not count our chickens before they're hatched. Let's not go celebrating our victory before it's time. And also let's not be arrogant or pompous about like the things that, maybe we can lean towards being that way about, right? So I just want to point that out for anyone who that resonates with. And then your spiritual advice that we have coming through is the Eight of Crystals. Now, I really actually like this for spiritual advice, even though maybe it doesn't look like it's necessarily the most welcoming card. But the thing about the Eight of Crystals is that this is about being in a trapping ourselves in like the prison of our own mind, right? It's being in a prison of our own making. And essentially, like believing our limiting beliefs and our thoughts and our perceived limitations in life and letting ourselves be stopped by perceived obstacles. This is definitely a card where you're being told to question your beliefs, question the limitations that you see. If you come up against like roadblocks along the way through this process, this is, like ask yourself, is that really true? Are there other choices? Are there other possibilities? Are there other avenues, perspectives to explore, to open myself up to, right? We tend to sometimes as human beings just like it's normal, right? We can back ourselves into a corner and believe like, well, I only have like this choice, or I only have two choices, and those are the only choices I can possibly make. And that's really just not the case. Like more often than not, it's just that we're not considering some of the other options because they seem less appealing and maybe are not exactly what we're wanting. However, we can get really creative in life when we take a step back and we say like, nobody's holding me in this space of like restriction and being like tamped down, essentially. Like notice how she's not being guarded. This isn't a prison that's like locked up and throw away the key. She's loosely bound. She can literally just walk away at any time, but she's choosing to be blind to her own agency, her own authority, her own power in this situation, right? So like tapping into your personal power, tapping into your will, into your solar plexus, right? Tapping into your ability to be a flexible and open human and consider more possibilities. So I hope that this feels really helpful for you guys. Definitely I would say go back and check out the solar eclipse readings that I did if you want to kind of get a more full picture of like how things are progressing. I'll have that somewhere up here on the screen. Of course, if you want to get really specific, a personal reading would be the best way, and that information is down below. And also just like and subscribe. It helps the channel. It's super helpful for me. And turn on the notification bell so you know about the next videos that are coming out. I definitely have some new things on the horizon this year. They'll be coming out very slowly, but so that you don't miss any of the next videos. I will have videos coming out specifically for the full moon lunar eclipse to the next new moon. So that will be coming out a few days after these come out. So I will see you in the next video. Thanks for being here. Bye.